Hello, and welcome to the Power of First program. As part of Deloitte's management consulting partnership with the International Olympic Committee, we're thrilled to be on the ground at the Olympic Games Paris 2024. My name is Suzanne Kounkel, and I am the Global and U.S. Chief Marketing Officer for Deloitte. I am joined by Anne-Sophie Voumard, Managing Director of Television and Marketing Services, International Olympic Committee, Fabio Baracho, Global Vice President, Connections and Occasions, AB InBev, and Kate Gordon, Senior Director, Olympic and Paralympic Sponsorship Marketing at Visa. This is another Power of panel. Today, we're discussing the evolving role of sponsorships in building a brand, sharing best practices for evaluating the best sponsorships for organizations, and detailing how best to maximize the value of those sponsorships. Big question to kind of get us started, get us a little bit warmed up, and I would ask each one of you to answer this, but what do you see as some of the emerging trends in sports sponsorships, and how can brands capitalize on those opportunities? Anne-Sophie, would you start?
Of course, yes. Thank you, Suzanne, for the question. So, for us, it's really important as an organization with a history of purpose and support and supporting our vision of building a better world through sport. We do see purpose-led as a real driver for sponsorship, because our organization is all about making sure that we partner with the right people that share the same value with us. So very, very important purpose. Secondly, I would say that digital partnerships is very, very important. We've seen, and we have here our partner from Visa. We've done an amazing collaboration through Roblox, which is actually engaging a lot of younger audiences. And this Olympic World on Visa has driven a lot of participation of younger audiences. So we see this as a very, very big trend. Lastly, for us, as you may have seen in those games, and we were going to continue this evolution, we want to celebrate our partners by finding ways to integrate them better into the broadcast of the game, so that they come up in a very organic way, and we're going to continue that conversation in the future.
Yeah, I love that. Well, congratulations, because you do root everything in purpose, so that's been on fabulous display, so congratulations. Fabio, how are you thinking about this?
Yes, it's a good question. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today. I think we live today in an era of experience. People are willing to live experiences, to create meaningful connections, and sports events, sports sponsorships are a great opportunity to be with consumers where they're building these connections. So I believe more than ever, people want to live these experiences. They want to connect with the assets, they want to connect with the leagues, they want to connect with the sports. Also to share, because sharing on social media became very important for all of us. So the combination of people that want to live great experiences and people that want to share the experiences, it's a big trend after the pandemic. We can see with the Olympic Games now, how the games are moving the conversation and are dominating all the conversation. We can see people here living experiences that they would probably never think about. So I think this experience era, it's a great opportunity for sports and for brands to be connected with consumers in the right way.
Kate, how are you and Visa thinking about this as well?
So we are a founding member of the Olympic Top program, nearly 40 years. We'll be celebrating together. So in a lot of ways, Visa's history is a shared Olympic history, and of course, Paralympic history, as we were the first global partner of the Paralympic movement as well.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. It's something we're very proud of. So for us, I mean, everything around our sponsorships, and we have partnerships around the world and at regional and local level, so they all do very different things for us, but it's about commerce, so driving seamless commerce, whether it's in person, online, and making those experiences as seamless as possible, and of course, evolving those experiences, which happens on a daily basis, right, with the pace of technology. So that's been an amazing kind of arc to watch over the course of our history. And then community. So we think about how can we make an impact at a global level, often through our Team Visa program. That's our sponsored athlete program. We have about 150 athletes from 67 countries sponsored for Paris 2024. And that really helps us reach every corner of the globe with local relevance. And the storytelling and the way we're doing that storytelling continues to evolve. But and then last but not least, it's about access and inclusion. So allowing our key stakeholders, who are many across the world, to enjoy and participate in the greatest event on earth, the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that 40 years, I always say that too, like sponsorships is a commitment, right? And it's important for the longevity of the relationship and the connection that you spoke about. Okay, so how do we, Fabio, you said it exceptionally well about this notion about meaningful connections through experiences. So how do you think about fostering deeper engagement and loyalty among existing customers and potential customers? And do you think about that differently, or do you try to design an experience that can kind of land both of those? So Kate, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Well, loyalty is a topic near and dear to our hearts at Visa. So it's something we've been doing for a very long time. And we do it in we have a lot of touch points, whether it's in-person experiences at our big events, or increasingly online through digital and social. And we've seen some very interesting trends and research recently around loyalty, in that traditional kind of reward programs, so points, cashback, that sort of thing, still works incredibly well with a lot of demographics. But for Gen Z, not so much. They want something that is much more personal. They want brands to understand their life stage. They want brands to understand their values. So it is certainly not a one-size-fits-all. And we're actively working on a lot of different ways in terms of more formalized loyalty programs with our partners, including at the IOC, to look at how we really deepen that engagement, personalize that engagement through data and other avenues. And it's really exciting. It feels like a huge opportunity area. So we've got a lot of learnings from Paris, and excited about how we're going to put those to work to deepen fan engagement and really keep them as our fans, right? Rather than in an episodic or an event-based manner, but deepen their interest, engagement, and ultimately loyalty for long-term.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Fabio, certainly you have very loyal customers. So how do you think about the loyalty of existing customers versus acquisition of potential customers?
No, it's a great question. At ABI, we believe in a future with more cheers. That's what we say.
I love that.
And cheering and celebrating sports over beer, it's universal. So our legacy and long-term partnerships with sports, as the NBA, the NFL, the World Cup, have been fundamental in building our brands over years. Now, for the first time ever, different from Visa, we became a top partner of the IOC. We have been learning a lot this year, and especially with an idea of bringing cheers and celebration to the Olympic Games as never before. And mainly with the non-alcohol beer that we are using the Olympics to launch and expand all over the world, we have the chance for consumers and the flexibility to enjoy the games as they want at any time of the day. And this is the way that we are trying to bring the category in a different way, and illustrates, I think, a good example of how the category can be present in the Olympic Games in an authentic way. And then we can recruit consumers by offering a new product that they can consume in different occasions, but at the same time offering to the current consumers the option to enjoy beer in occasions where they would never drink a beer before. So that's the way that we have been using the partnership to grow the business and to grow the brands.
Right. Well, great. Yeah, and welcome. We're new kids on the block as well, so
Thank
it's,
you.
it's fun to
Thank
be
you.
here. You've done a great job. Okay, so Anne-Sophie, obviously the impact that sports has on society is just absolutely undeniable, and it's on full display. But what do you think about the impact that sports sponsorships have on athletes? You know, Kate talked about the visa commitment to athletes, but how do you think about that with respect to the sponsorship of athletes and teams?
Thanks, Suzanne, for this question. This is really important to us. Everything that we look at really has to do with how much of a positive impact this can bring to society as a whole. So when we look at partnership, we look, at partnership with purpose,
Right.
always.
Right.
And we look at partners in the ways, how can they align? Primarily, we want them to be aligned with our values, friendship, respect, and excellence, but also that how can they support our strategic roadmap, Agenda 2020 plus 5, in the fields of sustainability, for example, inclusion, diversity. And those are really the fundamentals of how we look at partnerships. And here, I must say, and if I look at my colleagues, family, friends around this panel, it's really apparent how this is brought to life. So, for example, Deloitte, in the support that they give to us in the Climate Action Award, is very, very important. I mentioned, Visa, ABI, how this is bringing back to society, and the alignment of the values is very, very important. Athletes are being supported in many different ways. One is because of that value, that match of values, but also either because it's a direct support to the athletes or an indirect support to the athletes. So at the IOC, we redistribute 90% of the funding that we receive, and that 90% is 4.2 million a day that is being redistributed to support athletes.
Wow.
And I will just give you one example of that. Certain athletes that have won gold medals, I will just mention a recent gold medalist in the 100-meter final from St. Lucia.
Yeah.
St. Lucia has 200,000 inhabitants, roughly, and Lucian Alfred, who is the winner, she won gold in 100 and silver in 200 meter. At some point in her career, she was the beneficiary of a scholarship coming from the IOC. So this is where we believe that we're supporting athletes indirectly through the partnerships, but also directly. So some partners support directly the athletes. I can think of Procter & Gamble. They've opened, the first nursery in the Olympic Village ever. I can think of Airbnb, who are awarding travel grants to the athletes so that they can bring their families to training camps, or bring their families here at the games, or every single athlete that would participate in the game will be receiving a travel grant. So very, very important to us that we use sponsorship actually to support the athletes. Definitely.
Yeah, it's we're very proud of our team, Deloitte, and grateful that we can be in a very small way.
Congratulations
but-
on the medals.
Oh, thank you.
Of your
Yes,
employees.
we're very proud.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
Definitely.
But that was a bit of a drop, the mic moment when you said 90% is redistributed. So that's an amazing statistic. Okay, so we've all mentioned this in one way, in big and small ways, and it's certainly sort of the question of the day. Anne-Sophie talked about partnership with purpose. So in a world in which we all want to make an impact that matters, how do you use your sponsorships to highlight your organization's purpose and impact? Fabio, let's start with you. I love that notion about here's to more cheers, right? So talk to us a little bit about how you embed that in the experience that you talked about.
Yeah, for us, it's all about cheering and celebrating sports all the time. And we do this by building what we call the mega platforms in the long term, consistently activated in the long term. We believe the relationship with the consumers are not going to be built if you do one time in a life activation. You need to be with the partners in the long term, building the journey, and then you can learn and you can activate again. In our case, it's all about bringing cheers and celebration to sports. And we are now introducing this idea of activating the sports as a non-alcohol beers, exactly to expand these moments of celebration to more people that can celebrate at any time, and brings to the category something that it's very special. So this is the way that we have been using partnerships and sponsorships, and especially in the case of the IOC with non-alcohol beer, it's been great for us as an opportunity for non-alcohol beer and entering in these new occasions. So this is the way that we believe it's an authentic connection from the brand, the company, and the partnership. And this is super important because then consumers can build these truly meaningful connections through our products. So that's the way we see it.
Yeah, fabulous. Kate.
So our company purpose at Visa is to uplift everyone everywhere by building inclusive economies. And so we do that in many, many ways. In the example of sports sponsorships, with the athletes starting there, one of the reasons that we created our Team Visa program almost 25 years ago and was really to help them with the tools and the resources they needed on the field and off the field. And the Olympics and Paralympics are very different than other professional sports where the athletes have different resources at their disposal. So we knew from the beginning that this was something that we wanted to do, and we've directly sponsored more than 700 athletes in those 25 years and going strong. We also really look at where these events are going to be and the host countries and the legacies of these events, right? Because none of us want to be in a market and leave. It's always about making that community, the communities that supported the games for many years and participated, thrive afterward as well. So we've done a lot in France, as an example, we had some great partners at Sport dans la Ville. It's a wonderful organization that introduces life skills to children and under-resourced youth. And so we've done mentorships and given loads of tickets away to the areas in Paris that people who might not have had a chance to participate because we wanted to make sure everybody was included in the games. And so we've had to have some wonderful legacy projects happening in France. And then, really in terms of the fans, we do it a lot of different ways. And with social and digital, obviously, it's a lot easier to reach that scale. An example with the NFL, who's a partner with Visa, we've worked together on the My Cause, My Cleats initiative. So we're enabling donations from fans directly to support athlete and team causes. You see the fun cleats that they do, the different designs, and that's been a huge success that I personally would like to drive into our other partnerships, find a way to do something similar. But it's a hugely important part of why we do these partnerships, and certainly gives our employees a huge sense of pride and belief in the partnerships, which is really important.
Right. Well, when we see the magic in action, it seems very obvious, but we will go back to our organizations and there will be the question, okay, how show me the return on the investment of time and money that you all have. So how do you two measure the impact? And then I'll ask you, Anne-Sophie, as well, how you see other organizations, but how do you measure the impact of this investment?
Would you like to go?
Yeah, I can.
Everyone's like, not it.
Yeah, no, it's super important. It's super important to measure, not just after the activation, but also before the activation. We used to start the activation months before the event, and you need to have this kind of always-on tracking, so you know if it's performing, and you have the chance to optimize the activation, to change if it's needed for the big moment where the event is actually happening. So in our case, we became partners a little bit more than 6 months ago. It's a very recent partnership. So it's been a very, intense learning process. But basically the way we track, it's by the impact in the business and the impact in the brands. So we believe that if it's helping the business to grow and it's helping the brands to grow, then we are in the right direction. We believe that we need, as the leaders of the category, to lead and grow the category, and we have this responsibility. So what we do, it's always with a lot of purpose of bringing cheers and celebration, but it needs to drive business results. It needs to drive brand results. So the way we track during the activation and obviously after the activation is by measuring the results for the business and for the brands. And we need to be very specific in the KPIs we're going to choose. Otherwise, we can lose ourselves and do mistakes in how to evaluate the assets. We know in our case that when we prioritize a platform, we go for the massive platforms because we have massive brands, and then the results, they need to be massive. So it's super important to align investments with the kind of expectation you have for the business. So you can lead, you can grow the category, we can make the brands healthier. So we use to track business results, brand results, and this combination is what's going to give us the sense of
sense.
Simple but clean. Yeah, great. Kate?
Not unlike what Fabio described. I mean, the way that we measure, let's say, has changed dramatically over the 40 years that we've been a partner. So, but we are very meticulous about measurement, again, setting very clear goals and KPIs. We have 3 pillars sort of within our sponsorships: brand, of course, and how is this a differentiator for us? How is it driving value for the brand? Product, so an incredible showcase, of course, for our products and services. We, in Paris, delivered seamless contactless payment experiences at more than 3,500 points of sale in the venues, including retail, food and beverage. So this is very important to us, that this experience is top rate and that we are thinking ahead of everything because we've seen mostly everything that could happen and we're prepared for that. And then finally, it's our clients. So, how are they participating? How are they helping us to engage our cardholders around the world? And so we have very specific metrics across those 3 areas that we look at before, during, and after. And of course, using data now with surveys and other instant kind of feedback mechanics. So the feedback and the data is so much richer now, of course, than we had access to before. So this will all go into kind of the picture of how we did post-event, and then very quickly look at the next events and how we put the learnings to work.
Yeah, and I know through my role, we think about it as well as like it's a good way to gauge where you put the incremental dollar, right? To make sure that you're pretty mindful about what the return is.
I would add here, it's important also for us how the sponsorships help us to connect. We're a global company, so the sponsorships, they should help us to connect with the markets and help us to expand the business in the local markets. So, for example, through the activation we have been doing with the IOC for Corona Zero, we were able to expand the brand from 19 markets to 42 markets, just by bringing the activation of the Olympics to the local markets, to the local retailers, to the local wholesalers. So I think this connection of the big sponsorships with the local realities and how it gives you this commercial power of executing in a 360 way, it's super important. So it helps to go down for a global company in a very local level, and it's super powerful.
Right. What would you add? Because you obviously talk with all of the brands about the return on
when they say those
sponsorships.
things,
Yeah.
Well, for us, it's really about making sure that we deliver on the promises that we make to our partners. So our goal is obviously a very high level, of making a better world through sport, for sure. But we use the games in order to achieve that goal, and the games cannot be held without our partners. We must lean on our partners to deliver very, very specific parts of the games, but also deliver the experience around the games. Baracho, you were talking about the experiences. This is put to life, brought to life in many, many markets because of the partners. So what we see is more than 170 markets have been activated across our partners. What we see is that the top program is the largest ever sponsorship program that exists because it's wide and it's deep. So by having the benefit of this program and very, very strong viewership, because we're going to have more than half of the world population watching the games or engaging with the games. So this provides, I think, a backdrop for our partners actually to be fulfilling their business objectives, and this is how we measure how successful we are we bringing to our partners, I would say, the backdrop that they need in order to achieve their commercial objectives.
Well, we definitely believe in that promise and the opportunity that the Olympics provides to all of our organizations. So such a wealth of experience, and just delightful to have you all here. So thank you all very, very much. A lot of great nuggets, this notion of longevity and commitment to the purpose and the integrated purpose of all of our individual through the lens of the collective Olympics. You all had amazing remarks on that. You certainly, this notion of it is brand and experiences, but also has to be about business growth. And those things are not incongruent. I get very tired of this conversation of sort of the or statement,
Right.
where, it's it is absolutely an and statement. So love that. And I love the notion that of all of you about the daily innovation of using the platform to create, net new opportunities. So that's amazing. So thank you for all of the wisdom that you've shared. And so again, on behalf of Deloitte, I would like to thank you for being with us today and with all of you. We discussed sports sponsorships and the role they play in supporting an organization's strategic vision, including absolutely amazing experiences and the return on business growth. If you'd like to watch this panel playback and others, please head over to our LinkedIn Live. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back soon.